I'm Craig Kenneth, a relationship coach and a psychotherapist. Every relationship is different and every breakup is different. Work with me and you'll get professional help on your situation. And if you're in no contact, focused on personal growth, my workbook series, The Knowledge, will help you make changes like you've never made before. Available now at AskCraig.net. Hi there, I'm Coach Craig Kenneth.
I'm Coach Margaret.
And I'm Coach Victoria.
And today we're going to be talking about when your ex realizes the breakup was a mistake. Okay, so this would be big, right? Mm-hmm. This is what many of you are hoping happens. Your ex has time to think about things and they realize they don't want to be broken up anymore. They want to fix things. So what happens? What do they do? What do we see? Because very rarely does an ex reach out and say, I miss you, I want to fix that, or fix things, or fix this.
Very rarely.
Yeah.
Right.
So we're going to talk about some of the things and patterns that we see when your ex starts to think about things and evaluate things, and what they do when they think it was a mistake to break up.
True. So the first thing is they'll probably feel shock at themselves. They probably didn't expect to get to the point where they reconsidered a relationship with you. So they might also feel shame and guilt at this for breaking up with you, and now thinking back, ooh, maybe I shouldn't have done that. So there can be a whole slew of emotions that an ex can be going through.
Well, sure. For even the person who did the dumping, every loss brings back every other loss, for one thing. So if they've, lost parents, grandparents, whatever, that's all going to come back. And they're surprised probably to find out how much they're missing you and how bad it feels for them. And of course, they're wondering what you're thinking.
Yeah.
Right?
And I would think a big thing that they're experiencing is separation anxiety.
Absolutely. And there's no way around that. No matter how tough they look, no matter how angry they are when they break up with you, none of us can avoid separation anxiety. It's how we're made. It's how evolution has made us. We want to hang on to relationships we have, and we're shocked when they end. Okay?
Yeah, because if somebody's ended the relationship and they're thinking it's not going to work, I don't want to do this anymore for whatever reason, and then they're in that place where like, you know what? I've been thinking about this person all the time. I think about what they've meant to me and what we've had, and now I don't know if this is a good idea.
I thought I could move on right away, and I'm so surprised that I miss you all the time.
Yeah.
So now they're going to be overwhelmed with anxiety. So when it gets to this point, I think they're going to start to get curious, right? They're going to want to know what you're doing. At first, maybe they acted like they didn't care. Maybe they didn't even look at your social media. But now they're going to get anxious and they're going to want information. They want to see what's going on in your life. Right. Okay? They may start to peek at your Instagram every once in a while. They'll watch a story here and there. Just a little taste. Oh, and then they're like, I shouldn't look. But they give in and they look, right? Then it might escalate. They start contacting your friends or family, or watching your friends and family on social media to see if they can get more information.
Well, that's sort of a major way to try and get information.
Yeah.
And there are very few exes who are happy if you call their family or friends to see what's going on.
But if you're the dumpee, it's kind of like, it's very confusing.
Of course.
Yeah, you're like, I can't believe they reached out to my uncle or my cousin.
To find out what was going on, right.
But as their interest level goes up, that's when their behavior starts to escalate.
So they likely won't reach out right away. So don't expect the moment that they think, oh, maybe I made a mistake, that they're going to text you right at that moment. And it's not always going to be a shift from not wanting the relationship to reconsidering, it could go from not wanting the relationship, reconsidering, not wanting again, thinking about it, stalking your profile. So it's not going to be a linear process for them either. And you have to remember, it's kind of an embarrassing thing. It's like admitting that you're wrong. When you're so steadfast in your decision and think, okay, I'm doing the best thing that I need to do, and that's to end this relationship, and then later realizing, ooh, maybe I'm not as confident in that decision as I thought, or I'm seeing changes in this other person, maybe I made a mistake and something could have been great. It's kind of embarrassing to go back on your word like that.
Right.
And even if they were the ones to break up with you, they still don't want to get rejected. So even if they broke up with you, they don't want to come back and try to reconnect and for you to say, no, I was too hurt by the breakup, I don't want to do this again, which you would have a right to do.
And that's one of the things that the dumpee doesn't really understand is like that, okay, I've been dumped and you're afraid I'm going to reject you? But
Give me a break.
It really does happen.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And that's why they would try to avoid any kind of direct contact. They want to test the waters and see where you're at before they really take a risk as to getting rejected.
You know, I'm just thinking one of the other things that can happen is if you take somebody, and we see this all the time, who's under a pretty decent amount of stress. They might be going to school, they might be working, they might have problems with their family. And they try to figure out what isn't working and why they feel so bad. And sometimes they end the relationship and a couple of months later say, wait a minute, I still feel bad. That was not the problem. Right?
Yeah. So they're going to go through all different stages and phases where they're confused. And if they're not hearing from you and you're not reaching out, they're going to get more of that separation anxiety.
Exactly. And to speak more on what I was saying earlier with testing the waters, they might reach out to you in an indirect way. So if you've watched this channel for any length of time, I'm sure you've heard of the indirect direct approach, which is basically them reaching out to you for something seemingly insignificant. So you have examples?
Yes, the indirect direct is very confusing, okay? And, you know, it took me a while to figure out why exes do this, but then I started to see patterns. And the first one that I kept seeing, which was so crazy to me, was I miss the cat.
Yeah, we love the cat one.
I mean, and it comes
How's
up
the cat?
so often that I was like, wait, what is going on? Why the cat? And so I saw that, and then I started seeing more and more excuses. But the excuses are so disguised that you can't often tell, is it real? Is this an indirect direct? Or is it really they need this key back? Or,
I was going to say, did I leave that key with you?
or something, some item that seemed important. And so it's disguised so well that oftentimes you can't even tell, is this an indirect direct approach, that they're an excuse to contact me, or is it they just really need this thing? A lot of times it'll be something like that seems trivial. Like they might even message you, "Hey, I saw you got a new job. How's that going?"
Yeah.
Something that you're like, "Why are they contacting me about this?" Well, they are scared to reach out to you because they don't want to get rejected. So they reach out in a way where you can't reject them, or are less likely to reject them.
Right.
You know, if you say, "Hey, I saw you got a new job," you're not likely to be like, "Don't ever contact me again."
Right.
You might ignore them, but
Yeah.
you're not likely to reject them. And so that's why they often use an excuse to contact you.
I need my omelet pan back.
Exactly.
The omelet pan.
I've heard pots and pans. I've heard it all. But the cat is actually the number one
That's
I
our
see.
favorite. Yeah. Tuffy or fluffy?
It's fluffy. So there is this internal struggle that they are going through. And part of this might also be thinking back on the relationship and seeing how they contributed to some of the issues as well. So you might see that in an ex where they go back and think, okay, we did have some problems. Maybe I could have been a better partner. And then also thinking about those problems themselves. Maybe these are things that we could have overcome. Maybe they didn't have to be a deal breaker for me. So this can be some of the internal thoughts that your ex might be thinking. So there are some ways that they could show this behaviorally externally to you. And this is by continuing contact with you. They might bring up the breakup directly. Or what we also see happening is if they try to jump back into a relationship with you as if nothing ever happened and pretending that, you guys are still together or the breakup didn't happen or it wasn't a big deal. So this is another phenomenon that you can see to kind of avoid that internal struggle of, okay, let's just pretend that never happened.
Believe it or not, that does happen quite often.
Sure it does.
Particularly if you're dating somebody with an avoidant attachment style.
Absolutely. It's one of their favorite maneuvers.
They just want to come right back into your life like it never happened. I guess it's just too overwhelming for them to talk about it.
And they're the one who did the breaking up, inevitably, if it's an avoidant.
Often.
Yeah. And they don't want to hear about it. They just say, well, yeah, let's forget that ever happened. And that's not really a good idea.
Yeah. Now, in the beginning, when they start talking with you again, I wouldn't talk about those things because I don't want to overwhelm them.
Right.
I don't want to get overwhelming with anybody. I'd rather just enjoy their company again and realize that this is going to be a process, that you want to take things slow. You might get really anxious and try and lock that person down right away, and that's only going to scare them away. You got to be very, very careful that when somebody starts messaging you again, that you have to be okay with the space and when they kind of disappear and then they come back again. If you try and force things, it's only going to scare them, freak them out, and they'll disappear again.
Exactly.
So don't bombard people when they do reach out, okay? Take it slow and realize that you don't have to talk about all these, big issues or problems that led to the breakup.
Yeah.
Spend time with them and see if you can kind of repair this together.
And it's also important that you remember that the point that they realized that the breakup was a mistake is actually the point that they realize that they might not be able to get you back. And so it's really that anxiety of losing you. It's almost as if the tables have turned and the roles have reversed, where now they're anxious that you might have other opportunities, that you might have moved on. So that's why it's really important to increase their anxiety by giving them that space. I know it might seem cruel to say, oh, we want your ex to have anxiety, but if they made the decision to break up with you, they're going to have that space. And in that space is when the missing you happens.
Yeah, you don't want them to think that just because they contacted you and reach out to you, that you're going to, say, oh, I want you back. I still want to repair this. If you do that, now all the anxiety they've had about losing you is gone.
Yep. Right.
Exactly. And also in that moment that they thought they made a mistake was also the same moment they thought that a better future with you is possible. So you want to make sure that you're keeping up that internal work. Of course, we can't let a video go by without telling you to do some work on yourself and work on the real issues that caused the breakup, issues that stem from your early childhood that affect your relationships. It's really important that you look at these things if you want to maintain a relationship, that you're not just getting your ex back for a couple months or even a couple years. If you want to have a long-term healthy relationship with them, you want to make sure that you're refreshing your skills, that you're always learning more, connecting on deeper levels, and encourage your partner to do the same.
Yeah. If you want to have a healthy relationship with somebody, you have to take care of it. And that means you have to think about the relationship needs. You have to think about your partner's needs. You have to think about your own needs. And you have to balance. You're not always going to get your needs met. Okay? If you're dating an avoidant, they're probably going to leave you frustrated and disappointed at times.
Yep.
Okay? If you're dating somebody who has an anxious attachment style, they might smother you and be too clingy or frustrate you that you don't have enough independence with them at times. These things can be worked through, but it really does take awareness and emotional self-control. We have a lot of this covered particularly in the creative healing course. And we have cartoons that give various examples of these struggles so you can see it and you can do something different with it. Because if you can make minor changes in a relationship, it makes a major difference in the long run.
There are two things that, again, where we would suggest caution. One is, let's forget this ever happened is very, very tempting, okay? And you can jump right back into the relationship without having to do any preliminary work. But it's dangerous because you don't want to get into a pattern of pretending problems didn't happen. It's important to try and talk about them and solve them. The other thing is, it sounds kind of cruel when this person that you've cared about is being very anxious, and your instinct is to rescue them. That is not, however, what you want to do. All right? It's important for them to sit with their anxiety and make a reasoned decision, taking that into consideration.
All right, so a lot of good points in this one. Hopefully this video has been helpful to you. Let us know in the comments section. Of course, if you want to get our help personally, just go to my website, askcraig.net. Sign up for the coaching option that works best for you. I do email coaching and I do Skype. Of course, Coach Margaret is available for Skype coaching.
If you think I can be helpful, please sign up.
And Coach Victoria will continue to train with us.
I'll be here.
But that's it for this video. I'm Coach Craig Kenneth.
I'm Coach Margaret.
And I'm Coach Victoria.
And we will talk with you soon. To get my help personally, go to askcraig.net and click on Schedule Coaching and choose the option that works best for you. I do email coaching or Skype. To schedule a coaching with Margaret, click on Margaret on the top of the page and order a Skype with her. For the Knowledge Creative Healing course, click on the link at the top of the page and click Get Started Now.